Hey guys, it's Julia. So today I am going to be doing a book review for you guys, and I will be reviewing Looking for Alaska by John Green. Looking for Alaska basically follows this character whose name is Miles, but everyone calls him Pudge, and he doesn't really have any friends, and he's going to this new boarding school. He meets this boy who introduces him to this girl named Alaska. And this book is basically all about how Pudge begins to make friends and become a little more social, love and growing up, and things like that. And it is also about his relationship with Alaska Young. Personally, I think this is my favorite John Green book. Going into it, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it. I'd heard a lot of people liked it, and then I heard some people didn't like it, so I wasn't really sure what I was going to feel about it, but I ended up absolutely loving it. I could not put it down. I wanted to read it every minute of the day, and I just could not read it because I needed to know what happened. I don't want to spoil any of you, even by accident, so from this point on, this is going to be a spoilery kind of zone. So if you are planning to read the book and you don't want to know any spoilers, up here, go read the book, come back, and watch this part, because then you'll be able to understand what we're talking about a little bit more. And yeah, so I will see you non-spoiler people later, and yeah. Love you. Bye! Okay, so now we're gonna get into the good stuff. Alaska Young's character was very interesting in the way that she was almost bipolar, I guess. She kind of like was really nice, and then she was crazy, and then she was mean, and then she was like horny, and it was like she was always in a different mood, and Pudge, for one thing, could never figure out what mood she was going to be in, and he didn't know if she was really being mean or if she wasn't really being mean, or he wasn't very sure about her at all. But when he first saw her, he thought that she was the most beautiful person ever. Definitely seems like a tease to me. I don't know. I liked Alaska, but then I felt as though she isn't a very nice character. Like, she was kind of nice, but then she kind of wasn't, because she almost teased Pudge by saying, "Oh yeah, you're cute, but I love my boyfriend, da 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 da." And Pudge, who has never really had a friend, although he knows that since she has a boyfriend, she can't be with him, he still feels that hope that maybe someday she could love him, and it's just sad. I loved the character, the eagle, the headmaster kind of guy. I can't remember his name right now. I thought he was a very changed character throughout. When you first start reading, the eagle kind of seems like this scary, kind of uptight guy who like catches people when they're doing things that they're not supposed to be, and everyone's scared of him and all that stuff. But as you progress through the book, especially after a certain event in the book happens, he becomes a very sweet kind of person. And I started really liking him, which is something that I did not thought would happen. I thought I was just gonna be like, oh, the eagle is like the antagonist in the story. We do not like him. He's going to be a mean guy for the rest of the story. But he wasn't. He was actually very nice. I was pleasantly surprised. I freaking loved the Colonel. Part of the book that I loved was when they went back to his house for Thanksgiving, I believe it was. And his house is like a trailer, and he lives with his mom. And they're a poor family, but they're so happy with themselves and where they are, and it just makes you smile because you just feel how much they like him and his mom, how close they are, and how they don't care that they're poor. They just love each other, and like they like to live life to the fullest, and that was very nice to see, like, kind of represented that even though they're at this expensive boarding school, it doesn't matter, like, he's poor and he's proud of it and he'll flaunt it, and that's not really something you see around nowadays in real life, so it was nice to see that in the character. I loved the pranks in this book. The pranks in this book were freaking legendary. I cannot even begin to talk about how I wish that I could pull pranks as elaborate as these pranks that are in this book. Like the time when they flooded Alaska's apartment, like that is genius. Am I gonna go to like boarding school or college and like, is this something that happens that I'm not aware of because I go to public school? Like, is this something that happens in the normal boarding school university universe? Am I just missing out? I loved the prank, the big prank where there was a stripper giving a speech. You know, all that stuff. Oh man. John Green came up with some really elaborate pranks, and was he a prankster in his youth? Because I'm pretty sure he was. One thing that I really loved about this book was how this book didn't really hide anything. Since it's told first person, it didn't really hide any emotion or feelings or actions or fetishes or anything that the main character had, and because of that the book was very blunt and it didn't hide the details and the things that normally you try to conceal in your life. Because normally in your life you try to conceal the hard things and the bad things, but this book just completely opens up to that, and just all of that is out there and none of it's like hidden or like not talked about. I also liked the way the book was told, or like divided, as in it was like 365 days before, 25 days before, 2 days before, da 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 da. It really built suspense for the reader, because obviously when you have that, you know some event's gonna happen in 365 pages, 25 pages, 2 pages, or chapters, or things like that, and you know something's gonna happen, so obviously as a reader you want to continue reading to figure out what happens. And I knew going into the book what happens, but even then I just wanted to keep reading, because going into it knowing what happens, like you see the progression up to the event that happens. Anyone else feel really bad for Lara? Like, I felt like she's a side character, obviously. She came across to me as this like poor little foreign girl, and I don't think that's how she was intended to come across as, but Lara came across as this poor little foreign girl, and she reminded me a lot of Mary Elizabeth in The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and how in The Perks of Being a Wallflower, how Charlie's in love with Sam, but he's dating Mary Elizabeth. It's like that kind of in this book, like Pudge is in love with Alaska, but he's dating Lara just to kind of like date someone, I guess. And I feel bad because she actually really liked him, but he was in love with Alaska and she couldn't really do anything about it, and she was kind of clueless. Like, it's not like she didn't know, but she was kind of oblivious to the fact that he wasn't in love with her. And especially since she came across as this foreign person, she came across as kind of more curious than everyone and a little more doe-eyed, I guess. You know when an international student comes to your school and they look very curious all the time and things like that at the beginning? I felt like that was Lara. And that kind of just made it even more like sad that she had this guy who wasn't truly involved in her relationship, and it just made me feel bad for Lara because she seems like such a nice person and she deserves better than to be in love with this guy who doesn't love her back and loves someone else and can't commit to the relationship that they have. Next section is where I'm going to be giving away kind of major spoilers towards the big event that happens in the book and kind of the end of the book. So if you have been watching and you don't want the end of the book to be spoiled for you, I would recommend leaving now. Alaska dies. I was expecting it, as I said earlier. I knew what happened in the book. I had friends that had told me what happened because I never intended to read that book. Book got depressing, but it got realistic. Because to me, I have never experienced something like this, but all the characters' reactions seemed very, very true to a real person's reaction to something like this happening. All of the characters were grieving in a different way, and the atmosphere just went from to like everyone, all the characters in the book were upset, and I thought it was like reading it, I was like, wow, the influence that this person had over all of these other people is insane. Like Alaska Young, like you get a glimpse of how popular she is. Well, not even how popular, how influential she is. But you don't really get it until after she dies, and then, wow. And Pudge and the Colonel, during the scene when, you're very close to the end, where Pudge is like, I want to drive through her death, and they went and they drove along the highway and they drove past where, like, through where she died. That gave me such a strong image, and I don't even know why that part just stuck out to me like crazy, but just the thought, like, they're driving through where she died. They're driving through where she got hit by a car and died. It was just, I don't know, something about it made me just stop, put the book down, and just think about that. I also enjoyed, after Alaska's death, how there was that element of mystery, like, did she kill herself? Was it an accident? Did she plan on going out there and dying, you know? And you kind of had that element until the end of the book when it's solved. Having that to think about, like, you really wonder if she as a character really, like, was she a stable person? Was she, like, what would have pushed her over the edge? And at first you think it could have been the thing that happened between her and Pudge, like how they were about to have sex, something with her boyfriend, or you kind of, all these thoughts go through your head and you're like, but why would she kill herself? And just wondering that added another aspect to the book that was very creative and interesting, because you were very involved and you're like, okay, what happened to her? Overall, I would rate this book 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved this book. I loved it more than The Fault in Our Stars, which is one of the other, you know, you obviously know The Fault in Our Stars, like, it's a big John Green book. I loved this one even more. This one is a crazy mix of, like, funny, sad, happy, quirky, depressing, emotional. You know, it's a roller coaster of feelings, this entire story, and I think that if you haven't read it, you should read it. It didn't take me long to read it. It's only around 220 pages. I would recommend this to anyone who enjoyed John Green's The Fault in Our Stars, or anyone who wants to start your John Green experience off, like if you haven't read a John Green book. If you want to start your John Green experience off with an amazing book, I would pick up Looking for Alaska, because it went above and beyond my expectations for this book, and I absolutely loved it. Yeah, go get it. It is incredible. This is moving up to one of my favorite books that I've ever read, and that list is hard to get on to, so you go Looking for Alaska. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this book review. If you guys enjoy me reviewing books and things like that, leave a comment down below, or if you have any video suggestions for me or anything you want to see from me, I would love to know as well. So once again, leave a comment down below. I love you guys. I will see you guys again very soon, and yeah, bye.